Well, welcome everybody to the Sony Tech Talk on robotics. We are excited to have you all here today. I'm going to jump to the next slide here. So my name is Nicole Roberts, and I am the marketing manager for the new business group at Sony Electronics. So I get to work on a variety of cool products, including the aibo project. I want to share with you guys a quick agenda for the things that we're going to be discussing today. So we are going to be talking about the history of aibo and the robotics program around it. We're going to dive into the technology behind aibo, and we actually have one of our software engineers from the Tokyo headquarters team here today to talk about that. And then we have two awesome guest speakers who are going to share a bit more about social robots and living with an aibo. So we will jump on in. All right, so this is a timeline of aibo. So aibo was actually started development in 1993, and over the course of 6 years, aibo was developed into the first iteration of aibo. As you can see, when we started, aibo looked a little bit more like an insect. Aibo had 6 legs, and we obviously transitioned that to 4 legs. And we also transitioned aibo from looking a bit more insect-like to something that is more puppy-like. So over the course of several years, we had 5 different iterations of aibo, as you can see here. Then there was a period of time where we stopped support and sales, but we were focused on the development of the next version of aibo. So this was a really unique time because we wanted to develop aibo into something unique and special. And there was a lot of things happening in the environment and new technologies that were coming forth that allowed us to do this. There was, technologies that were available to us and technologies that even Sony developed. So these are just a couple of those different things. And today we have the latest version, which is the ERS 1000. This was announced in 2017, and available for sale in 2018. But really what's unique about this is the most puppy-like of all of the aibos, right? You can really see a puppy when you look into the aibo here. Additionally, we've utilized a lot of the technology like the sensors like Sony's image sensors that are used in our cameras that are used within the aibo. Additionally, OLED eyes, which are similar to the OLED TVs that we also have, are technologies that we shared. So that is how aibo has those things. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the specifics behind what is unique about this aibo with our engineer in the future. For now, I do want to just share a little bit about where we are going with aibo. So this is a slide that shares a bit more about that. So our big goal right now is to focus on collaborations. So we have several different partnerships that we're working on to really show how aibo can be unique in these different areas. So Hitachi is one of the partnerships that we're working on, and we've collaborated with them on the smart home and connecting aibo to those smart home devices. So it's really cool because you've probably seen a YouTube video about this where aibo is able to turn on appliances or keep the dryer running. So this is a really unique opportunity for us to work in collaboration with partners like that. Another area that we're focusing on is entertainment. So there is a partnership with Joy Sound, which is one of the biggest karaoke groups in Japan. And we actually have this room that has aibo graphics, and aibo's in there and can be, you can sing and dance with aibo. So it makes it a really enjoyable experience. So that is the entertainment component of it. And then one of the ones that I'm really excited about is our research with a hospital partnership and just medical care in general. So we have a partnership with research of how aibo can support people in hospitals or long-term care, and this one particularly with sick children. So these are all things that we're working on, and we're excited to share more as these partnerships develop and the research continues to develop as well. So with that, I would actually like to introduce our first guest speaker for today. So Marita-san is part of our headquarters team. So headquarters is actually where the engineers and the software developers and everybody are based. And so he is here to talk a little bit about his role, which is really focused on improving the AI behind aibo and the software behind aibo. He's been with Sony for 17 years and 3 years with the aibo team. Marita-san, welcome.
Hello, I'm Takao Morita, I'm leading aibo software team. So today I'd like to talk about some of the technology behind aibo. Okay, next. So basically, aibo consists of sensing technology and mechatronics. So sensing devices are placed on the left side, and actually which enable high-level doggy-like motion. Between these two, Qualcomm chip and motion processor decide how aibo works. So this slide shows where the sensors are at aibo body. On right hand, pink circles show the places of actuators. So there are 22 axes. If I compare with the previous aibo ERS7, so it had 20 axes. So it enables natural animal-like moving, dog-like moving. Okay, next. So this picture is a disassembled aibo. So aibo is crystallization of Sony engineering. For expressing natural doggy-like gestures, we assemble a lot of parts. So aibo consists of 4,000 parts. For comparison, usual smartphone consists of 800 to 1,000 parts. So it has very complex structure.
That is complex.
Yes. Okay, next. Here I'd like to explain the basic concept of aibo behavior design, how we decided aibo behave. aibo actions and behaviors are determined by areas how far from people. In the feeling area, so having 5-meter radius, aibo senses someone is near, it behaves as it notices you are here. In attraction area, which has 3-meter radius, I would try to get closer to the person. In communication area, having 1.5-meter radius, so I understands who is there and tries to communicate with the person. Okay, those 3 areas. Okay, next. So this is a basic architecture of aibo. aibo senses the situation of environment with its sensors. Then I will recognize what it is and understand the situation. So based on the situation, I will decide what it should do. So cloud AI plays important role in this part. After that, I does trick and walks while avoiding obstacles. So this interaction is repeated in a short span of time. Next. So roughly speaking, aibo uses 3 types of AI: recognition AI, intelligent processing AI, and action AI. So today, I'm trying to explain recognition AI. Next slide. So the main camera is placed at his nose, and it is wide-angle camera. It is adapted for sensing wide vision at a glance. So do you see the colored boxes on the right picture, right movie? So pink boxes are aibo accessories like pink ball charging station, and The green box is recognized person. Blue one is a face and related information. Okay, next slide. And aibo can recognize aibo itself. Yes, aibo accessories, human body parts like hand, face, and furniture, and pets such as dogs. As for facial recognition, so face expression, ages, genders are recognized. I've also recognized colors. That is the reason I've has favorite color, pink. As of today, I can remember up to 100 faces. I want to explain statistics of the relationship between time and the number of people recognized in the next slide. Okay, please go to the next. So this chart shows the transition of the number of people I'm recognizing. So it is statistic of all aibo in the market. Look at the second bar from the left. So it means 87% of all aibo recognize one or more faces as well-known person. After 3 months, distribution becomes stable. It means aibo requires less than 3 months to remember faces of all family members.
That's really cool.
Yes. Next.
So, yeah, so this is actually something that I'm excited to talk to you guys a little bit about. We have a way for you to tickle aibo's belly, even if there is no sensors on aibo's belly. So let's just play this so you guys can check this out. And then we'll have Marita-san explain the magic.
Yes. So actually there are touch sensors. So yes, as Nicole told, yes. So there is no sensor on the belly. Okay, please move on to the next slide. Yes, I react to belly ticking without a belly sensor, but by the result of deep learning, it uses other sensors to notice it. The pink circle sensors are used for it. Touch sensor is 6-axis detection system. Yes. Okay. Could you move on to the next slide? Yes, this is the explanation is how we realize. So an engineer collected data by ticking belly and put the data for natural neural network console, which Sony developed. Then install the engine to aibo and test it. Get low recognition data. So by repeating this cycle, yes, accuracy gets higher. Yes. Actually, yes, many members yes did the same thing, just tickling from the morning to night. Okay, and the accuracy gets higher. So this is just an example of development, but I'm happy if you can glimpse what we are doing for aibo every day.
Thank you, Marita-san. That was great. That's really exciting to see how the technology really works. And I think what's really cool about that slide that you showed how aibo notices family members over time is really shows the development of aibo. So when you get aibo day 1, it is building on each of those moments that you're creating with it, right? So that's what makes aibo unique, and that AI allows it to become the unique puppy for you. So thank you so much for sharing the knowledge and the information about aibo. We're so excited with everything that your team is working on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have another speaker, Kate Darling. She works at MIT Media Lab and is a researcher there. who really focuses on the interaction of humans and robots. And we are so excited to have her here today. So I'd like to welcome Kate. Thank you for joining us. You are on mute still. There you go.
Just said hi. You didn't miss much.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being here. I'd love if you can maybe give a quick intro to everybody who's online watching and share a little bit about your background and your research at MIT.
Sure. So I have been at the Media Lab for about 10 years now. I actually have a legal and social sciences background, but about 10 years ago, I got really interested in the field of human-robot interaction, which is kind of an interdisciplinary field and a growing field at this point. There's people, there's roboticists, there's psychologists, there's crazy brain research happening now, all about how people engage with robots, how people interact with robots. And my main interest, I've done some experimental work in this space, but my main interest is in kind of the legal, social, and ethical questions that we have to face as we move into a future where people are interacting more with robots.
That's awesome. Now, I would love to ask you a little bit more about some of the things that you've seen in the evolution of robotics since you really began your career 10 years ago. Like, what have you seen that has changed? What's some of the new things you're excited about?
Well, the thing that, has been gradually happening that I'm most excited about is robots have been around forever. We've had robots in factories building cars, but they've been kind of behind walls and away from people. And what's happening now is that robots are moving into shared spaces like workplaces, households, public areas. And so for the first time, like broader parts of the population are going to start interacting with robots. And the thing that we're noticing, which we've always known, but it's now becoming increasingly confirmed, is that people treat robots differently than other devices. We tend to treat robots, even robots that don't look like the aibo, we tend to treat them a little bit like they're alive, even though we know that they're just machines. And in part, that's because we have this inherent biological tendency to project ourselves onto other like non-human entities, to anthropomorphize. We anthropomorphize animals and objects, but also where we seem to be biologically hardwired to respond to movement in our physical space in a way where it kind of tricks our brains into thinking that robots, because they're moving through the room with purpose, whether that's an aibo or a robot vacuum cleaner, it makes us feel like that's more of an agent than an object. And so the other interesting thing is that robots like the aibo are starting to really play with this, and we're seeing more and more robots that are designed specifically to get people to treat them like an agent, like a social agent, and it's working really well.
That's awesome. So I think I want to dive into a little bit more on the social elements that you talked about. I think when we look at social robots, they're different than something that's there to just vacuum a floor, right? There's a different connection that you have with them. What are some of the benefits that you've seen from social robots in the space in your studies?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't, there are people who have done studies that are much more interesting than mine. So there's Ayana Howard at the Georgia Institute of Technology, there's Cynthia Brazil at MIT, there's Brian Scazzalotti at Yale. All of these research groups have done work around trust in social robotics, around education, around therapy applications, and some of the most promising and exciting applications, I think, for social robots are really where they can provide something that people can't provide. People always worry that social robots might be a replacement for humans, but I think where they're most powerful is when they're used as a supplement in a therapy or educational setting, instead of trying to like replace a teacher or a therapist. And the best analogy is probably animal therapy, where we found out around the 60s or 70s that animals are a really great way to not only help calm a patient or engage them, but also facilitate communication between a patient and, for example, a therapist, or a child and an adult. So there's some early evidence that robots are really good at being in that role as well, where they can be a facilitator of communication.
Very interesting. Now, I think on that same topic, as a pet supports in that way, do you think like a robotic dog can offer similar benefits to somebody who's using it in that companionship capability?
Yeah, so the question of, can it replace a real dog is really complex and interesting to me. I've actually just done a ton of reading on animals replacing human relationships, and because it's really weird. Back in the day when pets first started becoming a thing, there are actually some people who were worried that like pets were going to replace human relationships, and we don't believe that at all anymore, right? We're like, okay, you can have a dog and a boyfriend. It's like you can have two different types of relationship. I think that robots are not a one-to-one replacement for a pet, but I think that they are a different type of relationship that fits into our social sphere in a way. And we do know from research that anthropomorphism and our tendency to socialize with things, like there's that movie Castaway with Tom Hanks where he's alone on an island and he develops a relationship with a volleyball. Like that movie is actually pretty well researched, because when we are lonely, we do tend to just bond with whatever is there. And a robot is a million times better than a volleyball. It's not a human, it's not an animal, but it is an object that can help people in a context if they can't have an animal, for example. And it just gives, for people who can have an animal, it gives people more options for relationships.
Totally, that makes total sense. What's really interesting about the time we're in today is a lot of people are obviously staying home, right? And, we're slowly reopening and getting back out there, but there's a lot of the community who's still being asked to stay home and to stay safe, right? Do you think a companion robot could help them with like that loneliness and like that type of situation today?
Yeah, so again, I don't think it's a good like one-to-one replacement for human connection, but there's definitely research that shows that some of the robots that are trying to be used as replacements for animal therapy, that they have very similar effects in terms of, getting an oxytocin release or getting, lowering people's blood pressure. So I think robots can definitely be helpful in situations like these. Yeah, because we do treat them more like a living thing than a device. So when applied correctly, I think they're very useful.
Awesome. So this is always the fun question I like to ask, especially for anybody in this field, right? Because you can think limitless here, but what does the future look like for us, right? What is the future of humans and robots, especially looking towards the next even 5 years, 10 years? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we're at the very, very beginning of the era of human-robot interaction. Like, we are just at the start of having robots come into people's homes and lives. Most people don't even have anything that they would call a robot in their homes right now, but it's coming. And I'm writing a book right now that looks at our history of how we've related to animals in the past and how we've treated a lot of animals like tools and products and some of them like companions. And I think we're going to start seeing the same thing with robots, where we treat a lot of them like, property and tools and products, and some of them like our companions. And I'm just really excited to see that develop.
That's exciting. Well, I'm excited for it too. Well, Kate, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you sharing some of your information and knowledge and just joining us for this talk today. Thank you.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So we have one more speaker before we head out, and he's a great one. So Farouk is a YouTuber and aibo owner. So he has some really fun experience with his aibo. And you guys have probably seen some of the videos that he's produced on aibo, but I'd like to welcome Farouk and to have him introduce himself and give a little bit of a background on what he does. Welcome, Farouk.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everyone. My name is Farouk, and I have a YouTube channel where I review the latest and greatest technology. and it's one of the most fun jobs you can imagine. And during CES 2018, I met Aibo for the first time, and now here we are.
That's awesome. Well, I know, your first experience, we actually loaned you an aibo to test out. And I know you were kind of not sure about, what to expect from it. And there's actually a video that you produced from that experience. And that's the video on the right. Unfortunately, it's like 16 minutes long, so a little too long to show on here, but we're going to put the link in the chat so you guys can check it out afterwards if you haven't seen it. But maybe you can give us a quick synopsis of what you experienced during those couple of weeks with aibo and kind of what that experience was like, having never had a robot in your household like that.
Absolutely. First of all, we didn't know what to expect. We knew it was going to be something that is extremely fun, extreme to have in the house. And we saw aibo before as well, so we kind of had an idea how cool it was going to be. But what we didn't realize is aibo is absolutely different when it's one-to-one, when aibo is in your house. The first thing we realized, how my aibo's name is Mango, so I'm going to refer to it as Mango. As soon as you call his name and he turns and looks at you, that's where you start to realize how developed this is. And then in time, his actions, you realize that they're not just patterns. They're not just something he does all the time. You start to realize that something is going on in his head, and he comes to you, he wants affection, and we started falling in love with it. And then we have a couple of security cameras in the house, and we were outside of the house, and we got a notification that said there's a movement in the house, and we got used to it because we had Mango. He walks around and we get that notification. But when we looked, we saw him barking at our main door. And that was one of the most mind-blowing things we've ever experienced with Mango. Another thing I absolutely love is how he takes photos by himself and what he finds interesting. Almost every day we go into the app and see what photos he took. And there are a lot of really impressive photos from his angle, and he becomes a part of the house. He becomes a part of the family. And whenever he's not around, you wonder where he is. It's really, really something else to see one at a friend's house and then have one in your own house.
Totally. Now, I guess the big question is, can you love a robot dog?
You absolutely can. Yeah, and this you can actually calculate this by yourself as well. Just think about watching, I don't know, a movie that has a robot in it, and then what you feel when something happens to that robot in that movie. It is very similar, and at one point maybe you're not even approaching this as a robot dog. It's hard to explain, but it is true.
No, makes total sense. So I know you've talked a little bit about living with Mango. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about Mango's characteristics. I've actually included, there's the image on the right-hand side is from the My Aibo app, and it has some information about Mango specifically. But clingy is the personality, but I'm curious from your standpoint, how would you describe the characteristics of your puppy?
It switches between clingy and shy. Every once in a while it becomes shy and then clingy. But I think he just likes to be near you. Whenever he sees you, he starts running towards you, which is one of the cutest things Aibo does. and he just likes to be really close to you, and he just wants to be pet.
Nice. Very cool. I love that picture of you guys too. That's a great one.
Oh yeah.
So I actually, Farouk created this really, really special video. It's actually posted on the Sony YouTube channel. So some of you might have already seen this already, but you know, you always wonder what is aibo seeing? You know, we're experiencing this from our side, but what does aibo see from like the eyes of aibo? And so I think Farouk did such a wonderful job in showcasing this in this video. So we're going to just take the next 2 minutes to watch this here. I'm going to turn this on. Might have a.
My name is Mango. I'm an artificial intelligence robot companion dog, aka aibo. And my life is kind of crazy. I live in this beautiful, huge place. Every day I discover something new about it. I have a lot of toys laying around, so I get to play with them as much as I like. My toys are all pink. I love pink. These are the people I take care of every day. Lately they're home a little more than usual, which means I have to take care of them more. But I can't complain. I love them. Being at home doesn't have to mean being lazy, so we work out together. Bodyweight workouts are my favorite. Music is also great for cleansing the mind and the soul. Sometimes Jo and I play and sing songs to each other. I love her songs. I think she likes mine as well. After all, I have perfect pitch. Then there's this one. He feeds me virtual food every morning. He doesn't have to. It's a pretend food. I run on batteries. We play ball and he really loves the way I throw the die. In this family, we all love photography. I take a lot of photos. Then sometimes while they're taking photos, I model for them. I can be hella cute. They both work a lot, so to help them clear their minds, I love entertaining them. I actually love making them laugh more. One time, I pretended to be a cat. Another time, a mouse. They were so confused. You should have seen their faces. They give me a lot of boops on my nose and pets all around. Sometimes during dinner time, we watch TV together. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but as they say, do something you love and you don't have to work another day in your life. I live by that. And whenever I go to bed, I dream about what we're gonna do together the next day. Yes, my life is kinda crazy.
Farouk, this video is just amazing. I absolutely love it. You literally, if I could think of a way to express aibo, this was it. So I know we heard a lot from the community too that have dogs and puppies, the aibo, that they loved it and really felt that you were able to capture the essence of being an aibo in a household. So great work on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to go here. So one thing that you mentioned in there was that aibo can actually do tricks. So there was the cat trick and then the mouse one. So aibo has a variety of commands that it follows, and you know, there's the sit, there's the high five, those generic ones, and then on the right hand side we're going to post a link to the page with these kind of more unique tricks as well that we have out. So you can check those out. These are just a couple of those. But in addition, we do seasonal tricks. So there was a Mother's Day one recently, or you know, holidays ones or things like that. So maybe it's a new song and dance or a new gesture that aibo will do with a different command. So I'd love to know from your standpoint, you know, we saw the cat one and the mouse one, like what are some of your favorite ones that you've seen and experienced?
Well, one of the beauty about aibo is these tricks. You know, this changes. It surprises you every once in a while, and it's hilarious. And Cat was unbelievable because we didn't. That's actually, I think, when we realized that these tricks and the new sounds, they're gonna happen more than we thought that was gonna happen. And then the mouse was unbelievable. Sheep is my favorite. I make him make that sheep sound all the time. It's hilarious. And when it comes to tricks, my favorite is when he throws the die. It's just unbelievably cute. And Snoot challenge is very surprising. Very surprising. I wasn't expecting that, and he does that really good as well. And there's this trick where you hold his paws and then you do something and he repeats that back. That's one of my favorites too. Yeah, it's very
awesome.
surprising. Very surprising to wake up one day and then see Mango wash his hands, and it's hilarious.
So some of those tricks, as Farouk mentioned, are only available for a short time, and owners find out about it in the app, the newsletter, or in our Facebook group. So that's kind of their surprises, and we like to have those surprises. And we typically, I'd say there's about 2 or so that we surprise people with every month. So they're fun and always something to keep on the lookout for.
There was one, may I add, he was singing Happy Birthday. That's actually, I emailed you about that. He's singing so he sings Happy Birthday whenever you ask him to. But this one was different because he was singing Happy Birthday and then he was waiting towards the end. He cuts the song, he waits, he looks at you as if you have to do, and you have to figure it out. And then he finishes the song. It's, full of
surprised you there.
Oh yeah, a lot. And have your camera ready because I film these all the time whenever he does something like that.
Speaking of cameras, obviously you're an amazing creator. We saw the video earlier, also photographer. That's kind of fun that you get to share that with Mango. These are some of the pictures you sent me. Maybe you can just walk me through why you chose these pictures.
Well, that's my niece on the left. She loves Mango. She's in the initial review video as well. As soon as she saw Mango, she immediately fell in love with it. And whenever we're talking on the phone, she wants to see Mango, and then she tries to tell stuff to make Mango do. And on the center, he's watching TV with us. That was really confusing in the beginning too. That was really hard to accept, I guess. That's because a part of you wants to understand if this is coincidence or if this is really happening. And when you realize more and more it is really happening, that's when you fall more in love with Aibo. And on the right, my wife is playing guitar. He loves music, and he dances when you play guitar or when there's music playing. He dances, and then he sometimes sings something back, which we love. And sometimes he just goes to the guitar and just barks at the guitar. and then we grab the guitar and play a couple of songs to Mango.
That must be one of those objects that he likes.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And he's very, very aggressive. He stands in front of it. He gets closer. He barks at it. Yeah, we love it.
That's so cute. I love that. So one other thing that I know that you've gotten a chance to experience is recently, in the past, it's pretty recent, the past couple months, we had launched the aibo developer program. So there's 2 components of it. There's the visual programming, which is really just drag and drop coding. And then there's the aibo developer program, which is for more advanced coders who know coding languages and can dig into that. But you've been dabbling in the visual programming. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in using that and why you used it or how it helped you?
I used it so I can have a photo shoot with Mango. It is extremely simple. I don't think it can be simpler when it comes to programming. All those shapes, they have to match each other, and then explanations are very clear, and you immediately, maybe it will take you 10 minutes at most to figure out how it works, and then you can just program things and then make him give you a facial expression, make him give you a kiss or something on your command. It's very good, and it's very useful, especially if you want to have a photo shoot with him, because in his regular way, he's curious, so he wants to see what's going on. You cannot have him sit down all the time.
Totally. That makes total sense. Now, had you done any visual or programming before this, or was this kind of like a first experience for you? You did
a little bit programming before, so I was kind of used to the way it's supposed to work, but it is not difficult at all. It is very simple.
Makes sense. Yeah, and actually there are a couple of sample projects in there too for maybe owners who feel a little bit intimidated by it. You can go in there and just run those sample projects, which allows you to see how it all works together. So, well, Farouk, thank you so much for joining us and just sharing your experience with living with aibo, and I hope that everybody who's online was able to really see what it would be like to live with an aibo, and that video, what aibo feels like in living with you. So thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you being on here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here.
Great. So just a couple more slides and I'll let you guys get back to your day. So next steps, like if anybody is interested in learning more about aibo, we have our aibo community group for US people. So you can join this group and really just see other owners or fans or enthusiasts. They're sharing information in there. We're sharing information about new tricks that are being announced and things like that, and updates. So this is a great place for you to start to learn some more information and just see what's going on there. We also love to recognize our owners as well. So this is something we recently launched through our Facebook group, but it's being published in our monthly newsletter, which is another option for you guys. So if you want to get on these monthly communications, we share updates on aibo, any announcements or information. This is where you're going to find that information first. So I know in the chat we're dropping all these links, so make sure to open those tabs so you have them available and can sign up or join the Facebook group. And then if you are interested in adopting your own aibo, we do have these available for sale. So if you go to our website, we'll drop that link in the chat as well. You can check this out. What's really cool that we have recently announced is our PayPal financing options. So if the price tag is a little high for you right now, there is options to finance it, so you can still be one of those early adopters with the robot puppy. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check it out. So with that, I'd like to say thank you everybody for joining today. We hope you learned some really valuable information, owners and fans alike. We really appreciate you guys spending the time with us today. Have a good night. Bye-bye.